Hi, high schoolers. Today we are going to be talking about race and not the kind that you run in. We're going to be talking about our racial identities, our skin color, our cultures, and our backgrounds, where we come from. Our lesson today is called Winning the Race. We're going to watch a few different video clips, and the first one that we are going to watch is about a woman named Jane Elliott. She is a well-known diversity expert and teacher, and she conducted an experiment in her classroom as a new teacher in 1968. And what this experiment entails is her describing how brown-eyed people are better than blue-eyed people. Now, this video is a little bit dated. It is from the Oprah Winfrey Show from 1992. However, the lesson and the learning that we receive from this experiment is timeless. One thing I want you to note is there is a slight use of extremely inappropriate language. I will warn you, she does use the N-word fully one time. And this is for her to get her point across. She is a professional. And I hope that we're all mature enough to get through this video so that you can get the full lesson and outcome by the end. So let's take a look and watch it.
Today's audience was separated into two groups. Not on the color of their skin were they separated when they arrived. They were separated based on the color of their eyes. But they have no idea that they were separated. What we did was treat each group differently, discriminating against the people who have blue eyes, catering to those people with brown eyes.
Come on. Look all your eyes. Blue, over there. No. Over there. Blue, over there.
The blue-eyed people were pulled out of line, told to put on a green collar and wait outside. When the brown-eyed people arrived, they were told to step to the front of the line. Audience members with brown eyes were allowed to enjoy coffee and donuts. The blue-eyed group became upset when they saw the brown-eyed people were being seated first.
What are they doing in there? Yes, we know.
Diversity expert Jane Elliott helped set up the experiment.
I've been a teacher for 25 years in the public, private, and parochial schools in this country, and I have seen what brown-eyed people have done as compared to what blue-eyed people do. And it's perfectly obvious. And if I didn't believe it before this morning, you should have been here this morning when we brought these people in here.
Feeling discriminated against, the blue-eyed audience members were visibly upset.
She was rude to us, all of us. Yelled at us, called us names, pushed us aside. She was rude.
Just want to say, why doesn't Jane have a green collar on? She's got blue eyes.
Because I've learned to act brown-eyed. I have a brown-eyed husband and 3 brown-eyed children.
Why did you?
And the message in this room is act brown-eyed and you too can take off your collar. Act intelligently and you too won't lose your collar. None of you have acted intelligently yet.
It wasn't long before the brown-eyed people bought into the idea that they were superior.
You people, look, it is... People, I had a girlfriend in school who was blue-eyed. She was so stupid. She was always copying off of my papers. These people were so rude and so noisy today, we couldn't hear any ourselves even talk. It was ridiculous.
Eventually, the audience figured out the show was really about race. Now, he was so angry, he took off his collar way on early.
How many of you people of color can take off the collar that we have put on you? How many of you can take off your color? But if a black male refused to follow your orders or your husband's orders or your father's orders on the street, you would not see that as being highly principled. You would see him as being an uppity nigger.
Well, we can see where this is going. She's saying that everybody has racism in them. It's not really about the eye. She's trying to teach about racism. But she can't get away from the fact that God created the races and you are going to be different. Can't help it.
God
to be like that.
One race, the human race, and human beings created racism.
We caught up with the mastermind behind the eye color test. Jane Elliott is her name, 22 years later.
I loved teaching. I started the blue-eyed, brown-eyed exercise because Martin Luther King Jr. had been one of our heroes of the month in February in my third grade classroom, and he was dead at the hands of an assassin. I hate to talk about this because every time I talk about it, I remember how it felt that day. I was going to have to go into my classroom and explain to my students why the adults in this country had allowed somebody to kill hope. Because Martin Luther King, for me, was hope for this country. I decided that the next day I was going to do what Hitler did. I was going to pick out a group of people on the basis of a physical characteristic over which they had no control, separate them according to the color of their eyes, treat one group badly and treat the other group very well, and see what would happen. Eye color and skin color are caused by the same chemical, melanin. There is no logic in judging people by the amount of a chemical in their skin. Pigmentation should have nothing to do with how you treat another person, but unfortunately it does. Give me a child at the age of 8, let me do that exercise, and that child is changed forever.
All right, so I would like us to think about how did that video make you feel? It's okay to feel anything you're feeling, right? Are these issues still happening today? Are these issues with racism and oppression and marginalization, are they still relevant today? I want you to think about that because at the end of this lesson, we're going to reflect on a lot of this. This next clip we're going to watch is about somebody that I had the honor of working with. She was a St. Louis Park High School senior and graduated June 2021. Her name is Cynthia. She's 18 years old, and she has quite a frustrating racial identity that she wanted to share with all of us. Let's take a look.
Hey, I'm Cynthia Bjornman. I will be speaking about my issues with race and identity. I wrote this paper a few days ago for this college prompt thing, but it's also a very up and coming issue that I feel needs to be spoken about, that I have suffered or dealt with daily, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I've noticed that when it comes to race and stuff, it's always been a very difficult topic for me to speak about because I don't know what to say whenever I'm asked that. Because my dad is white, my mom is Dominican. But if only that was that simple, there's different races over there. It can be a white Dominican, my skin tone, or a black Dominican. There's so many different kinds. But they don't really know that around the world. They just view, oh, you're Latin, so you're tan. There's not much spoken about it. When they've after Latins have existed for so long, and it's just so never spoke about, which brings an issue to me. I'm okay, my mom's Afro Latin, my dad, he is white. How do I explain what I am whenever I say I'm mixed? I don't even believe it because I don't appear to have very loose wavy hair. I'm tan. I have whitish facial features, whatever you want to call that, and it just doesn't. I don't look mixed or the stereotypical view of mixed because of social media. And because of that, it causes a lot of issues because whenever I speak about what I am, because people, they always ask me, they're so what are you? Whenever I speak to them, or I'm just saying hi, it's just always an up-and-coming topic. And it's just well, how do I answer that when I don't even know how to? Because if I say I'm mixed, there's always the follow-up, either they say it or their face will just say it for them. They just are are you sure? I don't believe you. And I'm just I don't know. And then I don't know what to answer to that. I don't know, or I don't know if I don't know, or if I just don't fully believe it. It's one of those two, because I'm always faced with the doubt of, I know that I'm mixed, but it's also like, I don't really feel like I belong there. Same with like any other communities that I am mixed with. Like white, no. Dominican, no. And they both have an accept me. And then I go to mix, and it's like, okay, they accept me, but it's also like I don't feel like I belong myself because I don't appear to be. And then, yeah, it just brings a lot of issues because even if I say that I am, I always have to explain in great detail instead of it just being like, oh yeah, I'm white, I'm black, just let me there. Or them just not asking me. It's always, I have to fully explain it for like a good 6 minutes, or just, I can't just leave it like that because then people will not be viewed as like a liar or someone who is pretending to be something that they're not. Well, that's not the case. But yeah, that is my irritation whole essay that I wrote in fewer words. But yeah, enjoy. Good night, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Miss Cynthia. So as you could hear, Cynthia's always kind of had this frustration with her identity. She doesn't feel like she belongs. She's confused. She doesn't know how to answer when people say, well, what are you? Like you heard her say, it's not that simple. She does get a lot of assumptions, and she gets questions. And again, she said she's faced with doubt about her own racial identity. People perceive that she's lying or that she's pretending to be something she's not. So I want you to think, is there any way that you relate to Cynthia and her racial story? Now I want us to remember that at the end of this lesson, there will be time to reflect. But this next clip that I want to show you, we are going to be watching a discussion about privilege and what that looks like for different races. So I engaged a discussion with 4 seniors at St. Louis Park High School about different ways that they may feel privileged or not. And they were open enough to share some of their opinions and experiences with us. So I begin by reciting a couple different statements about privilege, and then we move into the discussion part. Let's see what they had to say.
And I don't need to disclose anything, but I want us to think about, and then when we're done talking, or when I'm done saying them, like reflect on what they bring out in us, and then we'll figure out. Okay. Should we do like favorites? Yeah. If you want to, you can, but again, you do not need to disclose. You can keep it to yourself. Things like that. English is your first language. One or both of your parents have a college degree. You can find Band-Aids at mainstream stores designed to blend in or match your skin tone. You have had to rely primarily on public transportation. You are able to move through the world without fear of sexual assault. You are able to move through the world without fear of being racially oppressed. You studied the culture of your ancestors in elementary school. You've been made fun of or bullied for something physical about yourself that you cannot change. You can show romantic affection to your partner in public without fear of ridicule or violence. You feel respected for your academic performance. You have been discouraged from an activity because of race, class, ethnicity, or gender. You have tried to change your appearance, mannerisms, or behaviors to fit in more. You have been profiled or stereotyped by someone else using their privilege. You feel good about how your identity is portrayed by the media.
I have two I have to read from. Oh, one, it's interesting. And they're only viewed a certain way. I've worked.
What does that mean? What does that mean on TikTok? Would that be you?
Yeah. Okay. Long curly hair, big lips, tall, eyes, cheekbones. And they're really like fetishing about like skin. Yeah, and like the body shape too. And they put those like stereotypes. But it's like it's kind of like the beauty standard at this point. Like mostly the beauty standard, like all of that, put in a white person. Not like it's not as appreciated because population in person, but because on social media they just go crazy.
Like white skin is very simply explained. It's the skin color.
It's just
Right.
one
So
of the
it's
complexion.
basically like saying, oh, white people, but with black features.
Yeah. And the thing that gets me more angry is that like they literally say the most foul things to black women on there when they have the exact same things, like the same characteristics, just from different places. I saw this one comment on there that I destroyed my comment. But he was like saying that she should take a shower and take off her clothes. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I've seen people like over and or like you're standard. Be next, but don't be next.
And there would be different gender or like different state with like a different like say you were male rather than female that before. And
They're just gonna lose males like citation for like
it's more male than female.
I think it's pretty equal actually.
Yeah.
Because like guys, they go crazy for the girls, and the girls go crazy for the guys because they're like, ooh, I don't like basketball. And it's also like they don't really like the dark skin like guys. And they look the exact same, just like what?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because they feel if they do it with the next person, the kid will still look good, which is still, I don't know what that is about. So, aesthetic.
Casper in the middle. White, no. Too dark, no. Light skin mixed with all the harder features is
That's something that's mostly
how the bar is.
the bar is mostly if you're white and have those characteristics. But because light skin is like the natural version of it, they choose that. Because there's like this whole thing of like getting stuff done that's negatively applied. But it's just like, okay, we want all of this for the light complexion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so that's what's going on in social media.
Yeah, and then like the amount of like it's so bad. The amount of like black people that I've seen just like have like the lowest self-esteem I ever can see ever. Because people just do not see their beauty at all. They treat them terribly when they have all the same characteristics just because they don't understand.
Do you think that your guys like the introvert like athletes with their is that like more of an issue for you? Like the chances of
Even college is now too.
yeah, and like college is way more worried just because of that. Or are you focused?
I'm less worried only because they need us for their little paperwork. Now that it's like a needed thing to have diversity in your your offices in your workspace, that is like a thing that is looked for. But like I don't know, because most offices they still won't do it. They just promote to them now and they're not open to it.
But the way you say that, they need us. If you come as that alone, we call it right there.
I get it.
Do you think that's still?
Yeah, yeah, it was like, oh, I'm just taking a number for them. But at least I get a job and get
And I didn't like. I was so like, yeah, I think she was Dominican on both sides.
yeah, because I just don't look it at all. I really
No,
don't.
that wasn't bad. It's because of your big ass.
It's like, that's what maybe you hear is like the scene. That's why I really like it.
Yeah,
I don't hear it. You hear it?
I do. I do a little bit. I understand. Like,
It's more also when she sings. I feel like I really say that, but now that she said that, I didn't really think of it as like an accent. But my mother,
I hear. That's why. Why are you? See, you're acting like that's a bad thing. Though. See, and that's the whole. Why is that bad?
I don't want an accent. I want it to sound like me. I don't want to be like,
But that is
or
true.
anything.
That is what is.
Not having an accent. Like, just because I'm correlating it with Latinness. I want it to be not correlated with anything.
I don't think it doesn't mean here. I don't think it means that, like, if you don't, not, I don't think definitely, but it gives you, like, an American accent, like, if that's what you're trying to, like, is that what you're trying to say? Like,
I just want like.
That's like saying I
Cynthia
sound
sounds like
normal.
Cynthia. So like, dang it, my mom impacted me. Yeah, but like I didn't know that they speak around her all the time when it impacts my English.
Oh, yeah.
Since she doesn't speak it. Yeah. But like I just
But if you think of it, if you travel down to like Texas, and we're all students, but overcome a lot of barriers and hurdles to get to where we are, but we all have this strength within us that keeps us going. Black, white, or Hispanic. Would you have to pick black or white? And what would you circle? What would you color?
it's gonna be either one or the other. Like, all the options are happening. Like, imagine you just get a resume, you don't know who they are, you don't see their name, you just see the facts. I feel like that would be good about the same time. So you either want all those options or none. Yeah. I feel that if there wasn't that many like issues in place and just like saying who you are, the feature specific, that would have been better if we could all just be people. But since that is an issue, we can't just go back in time. I guess having all the options to be able to be specific about it is good. Although I don't know, because if we're talking from like a job perspective, like I just said, with like filling out like the forms. If you put white, if you were mixed and you put white, or say like just mix black and white, you put white instead of black, you could get accepted. You put black, you make it away 50% of the chance.
Did anybody else notice how Cynthia showed her racial identity confusion and frustration again in this video? She said she does not want to be correlated with anything, and she wants to be nothing. She just wants to be human. Wondering if any of you can relate to that. other follow-up questions for this clip that we just saw on these seniors. I want to know what you're thinking about what your beauty standard is, or what your society's beauty standard is. Alina, we heard talk about TikTok. Alina is mixed. She's black and she's white. Sammy in the middle. Both of her parents are from Honduras. One of her parents is from Honduras, and one of her parents is from Mexico. She feels similar to Cynthia, that she just can't get it right. She doesn't know which one she is. Is she both? Is she neither? Cynthia, as we heard in her race story, she's white, black, and Dominican, and she's really confused about it. The fourth senior who was not pictured in this video was Megan, and Megan is white. Do you feel like another statistic, looking at the color of your skin, feeling the race that you are? Do you get treated differently if people think you have an accent? And what about demographics? What about filling out documents? What do you circle? Are you afraid that you're going to be judged by what you circle? Is having more options productive towards diminishing racial biases? These are things I'd like you to reflect on and write a journal article about. Lastly, these are just some more questions to reflect on, ask yourself, talk to friends about, keep it to yourself. Write a journal article about this. What is your race story? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever told anybody your race story or about your racial identity? Would you be comfortable doing so? How can we connect privilege to Cynthia's race story and her frustrations with her identity? How can we connect Jane Elliott's experiment to biases happening today? How did the privilege discussion impact you? How did that make you feel? When I read off the questions in the beginning of the clip, did you answer them to yourself? What answers did you have? Again, what is the beauty standard in your culture? What is your beauty standard? And do you reach that? If so, is that okay? And if not, is that okay? And how have you or are you being affected by racial biases today? And think about how your family has been affected by it in years past as well. One thing I want to leave you with as you are writing a journal entry about your reflection is I want you all to know that you matter, you belong, you are significant, and you're all capable of achieving anything you set your mind to. So no matter what feelings you came across during this lesson, I want you to know that those big feelings are okay to have and experience. And I want you to come back to our present moment. And I want you to feel encouraged. Because no matter what color your skin is, what colors your eyes are, if you're frustrated with your cultural or racial identity, you can accomplish anything.